was a raging inferno.
Wildfires rip across Washington state.
You could hear the whistle of the wind.
300 square miles burned, dozens of homes destroyed.
It's devastating.
An entire town reduced to rubble. But among the ashes, people cling to what they haven't lost.
Everybody's safe, yeah.
And here is the very latest on the biggest wildfires burning in our state. The Chewacam Creek fire burning west of... Team coverage of the firefight tonight for you. King 5's Heather Graff is live in Winthrop with a family trying to save their heirlooms.
And King 5's Ted Land is in Malott, where at least one home on the hillside just outside of town has been destroyed. Take a look at this new video. The fire is raging and is very close to homes as the highest evacuation notice remains in place. Firefighters are setting back fires.
I want to step out of the way so we can show you what we are seeing right now here in Winthrop. You can see the flames just popping up all along that ridge there in the distance, and that is...
Simply put, a level 3 evacuation notice means get out.
I mean, there's fires every year, but not through town.
For some in the community of Malott, that was all the warning they needed to hear as the Carlton Complex fire inched its way down the hillside.
We're just going to grab the quads and the vehicles, the dogs, and my mom grabbed, it's my parents' place, they grabbed some pictures, my dad grabbed his guns, and we're leaving right now and hoping for the best. That's all we can do.
Saturday afternoon in the town of Twisp.
Oh, yeah, it's just all over. It's just...
The DC-10 air tankers battling this fire, put on a performance of their own.
I mean, they're really fast, too. I mean, I heard him call for it, and 10 minutes later, he was here.
And from her backyard, just off Benson Creek Road.
Oh, maybe like a couple hours ago, right down here.
Deb Christopherson watches. She waits.
Up at Middle Mountain.
And she worries.
No, in an instant, the wind shifts, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Others in her neighborhood simply cannot sit idle. In fact, Chad Patterson was so busy cutting down vegetation and debris that surround his home, he didn't have time to talk. Neither did Mike Scarcella, who bought this house so recently he and his wife haven't even moved in. Now he's enlisting the help of friends and trying desperately to get this old generator to work.
No power, no water.
I think the priority would be to get the line in first.
Yeah, affirmative. We can work that out together.
This is a fist fight with Mother Nature.
Come in and help reinforce that.
And crews are using more than just their hands.
All resources, how do you copy?
To win the battle.
What we would refer to as a dirty burn. Dry grass, there's old grass, there's fresh green grass, and it's not burning completely, which is a hazard on its own.
This area, called Black Canyon, is center court for the showdown.
Fire can travel both above and below ground.
In the attempt to stop the Carlton Complex fire from moving down the hill towards Chelan.
Chelan is right down the hill, yeah.
These crews, flown in from out of state, are tearing up the root system here and building a buffer to prevent a spark from spreading.
If it gets into the roots of the trees, it's still a path to smolder.
And while crews work to build this trench, they have to be careful for tree stumps like that one that you can see flaming up over my shoulder that can then ignite this wildfire once again in a moment's notice.
12 homes were here in just what was one of many pockets in Pateros devastated by wildfire.
You just try to think about what you need to get and who you need to help and get it done.
What took years to build,
it moved crazy fast, and there was nobody fighting it.
Was taken out in minutes.
There was no time. They were fighting from the air for maybe 2 dumps because it was almost dark, and then it did what it wanted.
We had about an hour, and then they told us all to get out of town.
No one in Pateros thought fire would ever see this half of the hillside.
It's absolutely mind-blowing.
But last night it made its mark.
There's a corner up in town over there that there's 20 houses or structures that are burned.
We came around right here, you know, around the block there and pulled up, and I
at the time, still this morning, didn't know if my house was standing.
Tracy Price is devastated but thankful tonight.
Everybody's house is gone.
Price's place was the only one still standing in her neighborhood.
I couldn't believe that my house was here.
I don't think it's come to terms yet.
But not everyone was so lucky.
This is what's left.
Josh Allen's home burned to the ground.
Bedroom, other bedroom, kitchen, living room.
For the last 4 years, Allen's lived here, but now this man with no insurance is forced to start over.
I lost stuff that can be replaced.
Nearly 24 hours later, smoke still fills the sky, roadblocks remain in place, and choppers continue their work overhead.
I saw the mayor's house is gone. There's another councilman across the street, her house is gone.
It's a small town where everybody knows everyone else.
The teachers come back to teach here. I mean, that's just the type of town this is.
So in times like this, they know they need to lean on each other.
They have nothing. Yep.
To make it through this firestorm.
You'll never see this again in your life, and I'll never forget it.
It is everything, every momentum, every memory, everything that makes you who you are is in 5 minutes gone.
The Campbell family built this home back in 1943. 93-year-old Cecilia Campbell raised her 5 kids, tended to their farm.
I had a beautiful view.
And then on Thursday, watched 71 years go up in flames.
And it was coming probably 40 miles an hour down that other side of the creek. I just had the clothes on my back, and my granddaughters were there, and they were packing pictures out.
Even as those flames raged closer.
In my mind, I couldn't believe that it was going to burn. You just can't absorb that it's going to do that much damage.
Born and raised here.
Her son Bob did all he could.
Where the chimney is, my room would have been just to the right of that.
With a backhoe and a water pump, they fought valiantly. But Mother Nature tends to win out in these sort of fights.
It was pretty fast moving with sparks blowing in front of it, and that's what got us in trouble.
And then it just swept everything.
We escaped fire.
With his campground closed, his power off, and his ranch shut down, last thing Brian Verrilman wants to think about is a looter.
We're just not going to give up and say, we survived the fire, help yourself, to the goods.
When his neighbors reported criminals rummaging through their destroyed homes, Verrilman wrote a note to thieves that looks like this.
Attention, looters and thieves. Welcome to Alpha Lake. You will not get what you want, but you will get what you deserve. Consider this fair warning.
And stay out of Okanagan County. If you come here bent on evil, there'll be a healthy dose of justice for you.
After ranch hand Jake O'Reilly expressed those thoughts early this afternoon, he then reached into his pocket, pulled out a .44 mag, and reiterated his point.
Don't come to Okanagan County with criminal intent.
You survive a huge threat, and then you're faced with almost like an aftermath threat.
Brian Verrilman's family has owned the Whistling Pines Ranch on Alta Lake for 70 years.
And it's been a real popular lake for not just the hot summer months, but also for fishing.
And following the worst fire he's ever seen, he's not about to let his land become a popular place for looters.
Everything we did and the efforts that we did just in a citizen basis alone, I'll be damned if I'm going to stand by and let them come in and help themselves.
Today, he still took the time to tell his packed church about his scary story.
And as we were driving out, flames were coming across. Turn back.
These are the faces of the firestorm.
I tried, you guys. I tried to save it.
Tried to save it, but it didn't work.
Everything I own is gone. I don't even have a toothbrush right now, but we're going to go get one.
A laugh can be helpful in a hard time. But the Hancocks tell us it is their faith.
This is why we gather on a Sunday morning.
That will carry them through.
I wish it wasn't so cloudy and smoky. It's the most beautiful view in the world. And it's gone.
It's tough asking someone what their needs are when they've lost everything.
We're not going to build here again. We'll build down in the flat. So, sorry.
Lorraine Ginter works for the town vet.
You know, it was a...
Her husband, Brian...
You wouldn't believe it if you come up here, Tyler.
...is a 5th grade school teacher. They're like many in the Methow Valley. They are in need.
Everybody we know has either lost a house or lost something.
Yeah.
They raised 5 boys in this home, and it was gone in seconds.
But I guess it took 20 seconds to get up to the bottom, from the bottom of the hill up to the house, and the flames were 200 feet tall. And it just hit my house, and it just...
Now they must replace all that they've ever had.
The immediate needs as
Lael
well
Duncan
as
is the executive director of the Okanagan County Community Action Council. It's a nonprofit trying to meet the growing needs of this county.
Okanagan County is one of the poorest counties in our state, and we have a high level of folks who really had no sustainable housing to begin with, and now whatever they had is gone. And we need to provide for them because they're our neighbors and they're worth it.
A little house that proves we're gonna rebuild.
This is a family who's living paycheck to paycheck.
Not one that big, but it's still gonna be nice.
And who is surviving prayer by prayer.
God left us a little bit of heaven to rebuild it.
Now this is what disaster looks like. And this is how strength sounds.
We'll get through, for sure. Never give up your faith in the Lord.
Picking up the trash, put it in the sack, boom, boom.
We wanted to talk to the cheerful chef who's been serving up 3 meals a day to the families who lost everything in this fire, and the volunteers who are here to help them.
Spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti.
When you work this hard, you gotta be hungry.
Here we are now, still.
It wasn't until George's voice got caught in his throat that we knew.
America's greatest asset is its people.
There was more to his story.
The house upriver we were going to move into is gone. My daughter, who is the mayor of Pateros' house behind me, is gone. My brother's house at Alta Lake is gone.
Earth to kit, earth to kit.
George, his fiance,
See you, kids.
and their entire family are fire victims too.
Pateros lives.
2 little words that inspired George to start cooking the day after he lost his own home.
Nutritional, delicious, just what everybody needed.
He needed it too. In the town of Pateros, this is food for the soul.
Come back again.
These guys treat me like a queen, and they're awesome.
She is our queen.
Her castle is usually the community pool, which is now unusable.
Ash.
So she's moved her kingdom next door.
Gosh, how are you?
Oh, great. How are you? Well,
where help is really needed.
we lost everything but our home.
Oh. And these guys all lost houses?
It started Thursday night.
Burned out.
Donations filled 1 building, then 2.
They made scallop potatoes.
Everywhere she took us, there was someone in need or someone just wanting to help.
Got 20 generators.
Okay, so.
It was frantic.
Okay.
We're just a bunch of moms that care.
And friendly.
And we're like going,
and sad.
Every day we're finding out someone new lost their home. And
after 4 days of letting people sleep in the community center, taking in all sorts of donations, things are about to change. Because across that park, there's the Red Cross. And now they're taking over.
So you've caught us little by little trying to transition into how that's going to look. And how does some of us go back to the jobs that we need to do, like cleaning a swimming pool?
Okay, so we need to pull 11 of them off.
But not without one more task. Miller spent all day trying to find generators for people with homes, no power, and medical issues.
This is what's happening.
By late afternoon,
What?
they arrived.
It's a good thing I'm not wearing mascara these days.
The Queen of Brewster, providing people a castle when they have none.
We love these people. That's why we're getting this done.
The view from the heavens reveals the hell below. The town of Pateros is charred, but not scarred.
Can you give me a hand?
And this man...
Let's go. We got to grab this one generator in the back of my truck.
...is on fire.
Busy.
Alex Thomason is a lawyer in Brewster.
We'll just get this thing set up.
He's delivering generators.
We got this from Grace Community Church out of Wenatchee. They're also donating another $5,000 in cards.
He's gone from a power broker
great.
to a power distributor in a single moment.
Okay, these are easy. These are great. These are great. Elisa Vasquez, I just gave her one this morning, so cross her off.
Okay.
He's the teller there. He doesn't have a generator. I need his address, and we're going to drop it off at his house.
Alex is organizing crews and donating thousands of his own dollars.
All right, well, let's just drop it off.
So the folks in Pateros can see the light after a week of darkness.
I'll start it real quick and make sure that we're good.
Okay.
Between deliveries, a little legal work.
I got some homeowners with, they need people to review their insurance policies to make sure.
Sorting out residents' insurance policies.
Can I count on you for like an hour or two pro bono time, just review some stuff?
Another stop.
Yeah.
Another generator.
Okay.
150 so far in the valley.
Well, we'll put like an ice cooler in front of it or something like that so people don't steal it.
But you better cover it up.
You're very welcome. You take care.
So the thieves don't take it away.
Okay, bye. All right.
Now, remember the bank teller?
Need to go get
Alex will get him hooked up.
This is Umpqua Bank, formerly Sterling Bank in downtown Brewster. My name is Aaron. Obviously.
We're giving you gift cards from Grace City Church. Wow. Your gas that's in Wenatchee. Wow. And just $50 on each card, and just.
And after the gas cards were distributed,
we're going to help each other out. And you have a generator at your house right now that's running.
This is completely unexpected. It's pretty awesome.
Now Aaron and his wife have power, and Alex has another generator to deliver.
It's an amazing experience to be part of this.
We lost 90% of everything we own.
This is a group of Okanagan County landowners.
Very, very upset.
Who feel they got burned by state-led firefighters.
Everything's gone. We have nothing. Our whole future was taken away from us because somebody else was out there not making the correct decisions.
Lightning strikes started the series of fires that became the Carlton Complex fires. But some property owners say those fires got bigger because of a slow reaction by the state, in particular the Department of Natural Resources. Warren Smithers lost his house.
DNR crews stopped. We begged them to go up and put our house out. They said no. They could not, would not do it.
DNR says its crews courageously fought what it calls the state's largest wildfire ever, 250,000 acres.
The conditions that we saw out there in this fire were far and above what I've ever seen before.
First and foremost, I'm a firefighter.
But Pateros firefighter Carlene Anders says the only thing as hard to watch as homes burning
to see so many homes lost and so much devastation
was watching some half-hearted fire crews.
And I can tell you it was very difficult to see some of those DNR rigs from out of the area not doing the same effort.
Former firefighters Kim Maltis and Robbie Risley say they were busy dousing flames with garden hoses while firefighters a field away did nothing to help.
Well, they sat over there in the field and watched and took pictures.
Department of Natural Resources officials tell King 5 they are still trying to figure out if, in fact, this area was under their control when Kim and his neighbors lost their homes. But regardless, DNR is comfortable saying their firefighters and managers did their very best in attacking the biggest wildfire in state history.
The incident management team was there and starting to get in place with a lot of resources, and then the fire blew up. And it went well beyond the scope of their box that they were already drawn.
So Albert Castle with DNR says homes in this valley were under an advanced evacuation notice from the county sheriff.
In the 20 years I fought fire, that was the closest I ever came to not making it.
Whether people in the valley actually got that warning is unclear. So is the question about who was in charge.
This is still under investigation for us as an agency, which can take some time.
It's beyond my comprehension why they did nothing at all.
DNR says they are already working on a detailed after-action review, which they hope will provide some answers.
Impressive.
Nearly 2 months after it started, the monstrous Carlton Complex fire is still hanging on.
It's acting like a chimney. It's sucking air right up through the middle.
Fire hollowed out a ponderosa pine and has been feeding on it for weeks. Everything, including the fire, is trying to stay alive in the black.
Right now, what we're concerned about is in another 6 weeks or so, we're going to have thousands of deer pouring into the winter range, and there's really not going to be much here for them to eat in this coming winter season.
Bitterbrush, the winter staple of the herds, has burned away for miles in every direction. It's all the deer have to eat when the winter snows force them down from the mountains, which also got burned. Food is scarce up high as well.
Even if winter wasn't rapidly approaching the high country, there's just not much up here for wildlife to feed on. There are signs of life. It is coming back. New plants are growing up through the ashes, but there just won't be nearly enough of it for this winter.
So that leaves the deer with some deadly options. Some are expected to make the dangerous journey across roads to the irrigated farm and orchard lands below. Lowland herds are already putting pressure on farmers. More deer could cause serious damage. The deer that choose to remain in the blackened rangelands and feed on what little vegetation there is pose another risk.
If we have too many animals on the landscape, they're going to inhibit the ability of the vegetation to come back.
The burned land simply cannot support the same number of deer, so the Department of Fish and Wildlife is turning to hunters for help.
So this fall we're going to have some supplemental antlerless harvest, take several hundred additional animals off the landscape.
The department is grappling with issues only the state's largest fire in history can raise. It's a decision the department doesn't take lightly. It's also prepared to feed the deer to prevent a massive die-off.
And the current bush that's resprouting.
Fire is a natural event, and Fitkin says in the long run, the land will be healthier because of it. And even though humans can help extinguish the last gasps of the fire that ravaged it, only nature itself can recover from the black.
It's instant when something goes wrong in the Methow Valley. And there's been plenty of misfortune this summer.
So the water was just flowing in, flowing out.
There are a lot of people who rush in to make things right.
Yeah.
It took Luke Hughes and his wife 10 years to transform this place into a home to raise their 2 kids. The mudslide needed just 5 minutes.
We heard it, and I looked over the berm and could see it jump out of the creek completely.
The hills, stripped bare and weakened by the Carlton Complex wildfire, gave way.
This is the problem. This is a bottleneck right there.
Yeah. They were right in the path.
It picked up the Subaru and it was parked over here, ended up on the other side of the lilac.
Now they're in the middle of a torrent of friends, family, and neighbors.
Yeah, we called a few people, Facebooked a few people, and then a lot of people just heard about it and showed up to help.
Someone even delivered this.
How do you work this garbage truck? You got to do them both.
Though they didn't leave the manual.
Yeah, we got her figured out.
In times like these, there can be so much uncertainty.
Well, actually, when I drove up yesterday, the kids weren't here, and the tears, I cried for a long time and composed myself when they come back so I could just be strong for them. This is devastating.
There's hardwood in that room and the living room.
The Hughes family doesn't quite know where to go from here, or even if they'll stay.
I honestly don't want to live here now, but you know, we're just getting it cleaned out and doing one day at a time, and you know, that's all we can do.
Whatever they decide, they won't have to rebuild on their own.
I mean, I can't believe it. I love all you guys.
I was kind of hoping to have the house here when I came up.
It's a moment of dread, 4 months in the making.
Oh.
You're strong.
Dagmar DeVere hasn't been able to return to the site where her new home once stood until today.
And it was a perfect little place for all of us. And 2 weeks later, it's gone. I really didn't want to see that.
Flames consumed homes and 250,000 acres as 4 Okanagan County wildfires merged into one, the Carlton Complex fire.
I'll never forget that roaring sound. It sounded like a dragon. It was hot.
The disaster forced regular citizens to grab whatever they could.
This was our firefighting tool, one of them. We had 3 of these going.
And turn themselves into instant firefighters. Dagmar and her husband came to the aid of friends and neighbors.
In 2 days, we worked on 7 houses. 6 of the 7 houses are still standing. Very unfortunately, ours isn't.
This is what remained of the Pateros home they moved into just 2 weeks before the fire.
I just feel empty.
The fire scorched 250,000 acres, 300 homes, people who lost everything. We've learned the state has cut only one check to one landowner. This is the invoice for a nearly $2 million payment by the state of Washington that we got through a public records request. It's money that was paid to Gebbers Farms 2 months after the fire. The family-owned, century-old Gebbers fruit orchard is one of the largest in the world. By all accounts, Gebbers fought valiantly to keep the fire off their property. But unlike any other landowner, the state has paid Gebbers back, including $209,000 to Gebbers orchard employees who fought the fire, more than $680,000 for heavy equipment, and $500,000 for 4 helicopters that Gebbers leased.
I would have made payments for the rest of my life just to have a couple dumps of water on our house to save it. We could have saved it. But when it got here, it was way too big for us. Way too big. There was no way.
What was the reason for reimbursing that company? Lauren Torgeson is regional manager for the Washington Department of Natural Resources, DNR, which cut the check to Gebbers.
Gebbers Farms had the equipment immediately. They had the right type of equipment. They had the aircraft, those kinds of resources that, again, in the interest of the state, we entered into that arrangement.
By protecting its 8,000 acres, Gebbers also shielded the town of Brewster right below the orchards. And DNR says the so-called fire control payment was for Gebbers' efforts on behalf of the community.
They were attempting to protect not only their property, but other property as well.
This satellite image from the days after the fire shows the circular red scar of burned vegetation. The green hole in the middle is mostly Gebbers' property. Neighboring land didn't fare so well. We found invoices showing the state was also billed for fire bonuses of up to $2,000 for some Gebbers workers and several $100s in purchases at this Brewster Quickie Mart. The Gebbers payments mark a stark turnaround from the early days of the fire, when some firefighting agencies accused Gebbers of interfering with their work. They said Gebbers helicopters were not communicating with their aircraft. One ground commander wrote, due to safety concerns, he pulled his firefighters out of an area where Gebbers helicopters hovered, and a structure was lost. In another report, an air commander called the choppers a hazard.
In the heat of the fire, there may have been a few moments where things weren't well coordinated. Then we got in touch with them, they got in touch with us, and we started to coordinate our response, which is much more effective.
Commissioner of Public Lands, Peter Goldmark, isn't just the head of DNR. Like the Gebbers, he's one of the largest landowners in Okanogan County. Are you friends with the Gebbers family?
So I knew the late Danny Gebbers, yes.
But Commissioner Goldmark said that relationship isn't a factor. The commissioner says what did matter is that Gebbers firefighting freed up public crews and equipment to fight the state's largest ever wildfire in other parts of the county.
DNR's resources were stretched beyond the resources that we could supply.
Managers at Gebbers Farms did not respond to our repeated requests for an interview.
So everybody should be on equal ground, no matter how big or small they are.
This couple says what really stings is that Gebbers was paid by DNR, whose crews they found staging nearby the day of the fire.
5 engine crews sitting there, and we begged them.
I begged them. I got out and I begged them.
You know, my recollection, I don't remember begging for anything else in my whole life. And they told us no.